All right, welcome to Forged Father FM. We've got a great episode here, another success story with my man Mo, who has made quite the change, man. So I'm excited to dig in with you, Mo. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and share your story, brother.
Well, thank you for having me.
You
Appreciate
bet,
it.
man. You bet. So I'll kind of turn things over to you, man, and let you kind of introduce yourself. Like, where are you from? What do you do? A little bit more
Okay.
about you, brother.
I am Mo Rodriguez out here in California, Turlock, California. Owner and operator of Demolition. And man, running a demolition company out here and family man. I got two little ones and beautiful wife, and we live our life pretty simple, and we have a good time while we do it. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Simple life is the good life, man.
Yeah, it is. Keeping it simple is
Yeah.
definitely better than complicating it with chasing stuff that doesn't mean anything.
Absolutely, brother. So, businessman, obviously the line of work that you're in is not sitting at a desk. You're actually up, moving around, very physical. So I'm definitely wanting to chat a little bit more about that. But before we do, I'm just curious, like, how did you come across Force Father? Like, how did you find out about it initially?
All right. Well, I started seeing ads blip up, on Instagram,
Mhm.
and it's funny because as you're doing searches on Google and everything, you start like going through there looking at like, oh hey, well, what can I do to get in shape? What can I do? What's going to help me burn the most fat, or what's the quickest, simplest, kind of thing. All of a sudden, you start getting little ads that pop up about what you should do about your dad bod or whatever. That, you know what I mean. So you start seeing those kind of things pop up on your social media.
Yep.
So I ended up seeing it, and I was like, this is interesting. And that's when I reached out to you. And I was like, hey, Instagram sent me a little something. So maybe this is a kind of a maybe they're looking at my history, or maybe it's just a sign that I just need to get into something. And after I talked to you, it was probably like the most encouraging conversation. Is what made me like, all right, cool, I can buy into this.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having that conversation, man, and you know, chatting about where you were currently. I mean, because with your business, remind me, are you now you got a number of employees working under you, right?
Yeah, I have a couple guys that work for me, but there's
Hmm.
been, or what I mean, obviously, especially with the last couple of years we've had,
Yep.
falling out sick because what I mean, they don't want to show up for that. There's
Hmm.
guys that are, hey, I'm getting free money right now, so
Yep.
why would I go into work for somebody? You know what I mean? Like I can
Hmm.
sit. So, when people had other options, it's me grinding by myself and
Yep.
starting to get worn down. On our average day, we're usually loading out probably about like 3,000 pounds to four
Hmm.
thousand of
Yeah.
material on
Hmm.
houses. I mean, so it goes from anywhere like somebody's private home or multifamily living to where we're remodeling a duplex, remodeling apartment buildings, doing exterior renovation to something, removing concrete, anything like that. So that's our normal.
Yeah. So all of that manual labor, and I think I was telling you when we first had a conversation, I grew up doing a lot of that stuff with my dad. He owns a
Mm.
construction company, but it was usually my main duty to, pick up the large pieces of concrete that we're breaking out to, pour a new driveway or whatever. So that was always my job,
Yeah,
cleaning up that mess. And it's not easy, man. So
yeah.
you've obviously, and how long have you had your biz?
My business has been going right now for going on 7 years.
Awesome, dude. That's great,
We're
dude.
or finishing out our seventh year right now.
Mhm.
Once we hit September again.
Good. And that's a great stretch. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think they say most small businesses make it about 3 years. I think they say it might be 3 years or like 5 years or something like that. But most small businesses, they just don't make it.
Yeah,
They just they don't keep things together and they don't push through. So I mean, you're 7 years, almost 7 years strong now. So let's kind of go back in time when you first reached out. So obviously you're running your business, you're going day in, day out, a lot of manual labor type stuff. But what were you dealing with at the time? Like what made you reach out, after you saw that? Like what was your current situation then, man?
well, I was just in a place of like, looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, part of it is like I want to look good naked, so there's that
Yeah,
part of like,
yeah.
I want to look better. I you know what I mean I get out of the shower I see my belly hanging over my towel, and then I adjust my towel because I don't want to look at my belly. And then it's like, damn, like, I don't want to look like this. I don't want to look like my wife. I don't want I could take my kids out, you know what I mean? And then it's like, hey, they got the fat sloppy dad that's huffing and puffing once he walks down a driveway, you know what I mean? So and not only that, it just, I wanted to have the energy. I wanted to have something more. And at that point, when I reached out to you, I was 325 and I was huffing and puffing, even though the work's physical, you know what I mean? The at home weren't going with that. So my body was, I would say I was slowly breaking myself down. Coming home from a long day at work and then cracking a beer, you know what I mean? And then one beer turns into 12 or 6 or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And then I'm sitting here, well, what am I going to eat? Well, let's order a pizza. So then I'm drinking all night, I'm eating a pizza, you know what I mean? Then obviously that takes away too from family time. So when those kind of things start to become a habit, and then I don't want my kids looking at me like, well, damn, dad got off work, he's tired, he just wants to have a beer and not do anything. I started to feel like I was getting away from that, where pre marriage and kids, you know what I mean? Like going to the gym, doing stuff was a bigger part of my life. And then, you know what I mean, getting into a relationship at the beginning of me and Christy's relationship, it was like, hey, we're going to the gym, we're doing stuff, we're doing that. And then all of a sudden you start using, well, I don't have 30 minutes to do something. I don't have 10 minutes to do something. And you know what I mean? I think when I get to that point, like I said to you a couple messages ago, I have a full gym in my house that has just about anything and everything I need to. If I can't get a good workout in there, then I'm obviously just being lazy. And I've had that for years now. You know, that's what it's been. And I get home from work and I look at the stuff and I crack a beer. You know what I mean? And then either that or it's like I'm drinking sodas and other stuff that just isn't helping me. So going through that position at the beginning, I just felt like I was in a bad place. Lack of confidence in what I look like. Clothes are getting tighter. Clothes are getting that much bigger. You know what I mean? And 325, I think, is the heaviest I've been in forever. You know, I think about 335 was where I got up to. I was fluctuating in the 330s, and that's hard. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel good, especially when you're not like a physical 330. You're kind of a floppy, squishy 330. You know what I mean? Definitely hard to make it from one position to another.
So I get you, man. And it's something I commonly say to guys is, you know, if you're going to be over 300 pounds, then you better be getting paid to play on Sundays, right? If not, you have no business being over that much, because I mean, that's a lot of extra weight. But man, that's a real common path that a lot of guys go down. I mean, you just get into a routine and it just becomes kind of the life. Like, I mean, your job, it's not easy. You're very physical at your job and you're burning a lot of calories. And so it's a common misconception. It's like, and you kind of justify yourself with that, right? You're like, man, I moved a shit ton of stuff today. I deserve this beer. I deserve to put my feet up, you know, and that becomes the norm. And then obviously we find ourselves in the situation that you were in, right? So but so we hit that point. Now let's fast forward to today. Like, where are we at today, man?
Today, okay, so I'm weighing in at 283. Lowest I got so far with the program was 275. So I was down at 275 and I was about 22% body fat right there. At that, I'm back up to 283, but now I'm down to 20.7% body fat.
Awesome.
So a little bit of weight shift going in the upward direction, but a drop in the body fat percentage, which, you know what I mean? I think that's definitely a win right there. But I was talking to Jeremy, I was like, I kind of don't understand it, man. I was like, how is this like, but also too, on some of my days, like I was having heavy protein days over the last span of like a month, where I'm like in the red on my protein. My carbs are still staying in the yellow, and then my fat staying in the blue. So you know what I mean?
It's interesting, and we always explain that at the beginning. It's like, the scale is going to start going down, but at certain points the scale might stall out. And what we need to focus in on most is that body composition, because essentially what's happened at this point is we dipped down to 275 and you've gained a little bit of weight back, but more than likely that's muscle, because if body fat's going down, it's definitely muscle, right? Because I'm sure, as you can tell, like, clothes are fitting much differently.
Oh yeah, like so I had a 42 work pants, my normal work pants I always wear. So I had a 42, I go to put those things on. And then like, of course they're snug when I was first starting.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm at the point where I had to shift and buy smaller pants because my waist has actually gotten a bit more, you know what I mean? Still got the little belly, but you know what I mean? It's work in progress.
Yep. Always,
So
man. Always, brother. Well, that's great, dude. So yeah, 50 pounds down, bunch of body fat percentages down. How are you feeling? Like how's a day of work for you now versus, months and months ago?
oh, it's night and day difference.
Yeah.
It's a complete difference. Also, too, just the programming you guys put me on is stuff that I did not want to do. Like you're having me do stuff with rings. You're having me do stuff with kettlebells. I used to make fun of buddies of mine that work out with kettlebells until I got my ass whooped by them. So then I was like, all right, hey, there is something to this. And then I used to make a couple of my buddies because they were CrossFitter guys. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh yeah. So, but adding that kind of a style to a workout, to a training session has been very beneficial, especially for me, like to where it's like, hey, I removing like a tile surround in a bathroom and I have to carry that down 2 flights of stairs out to my trailer. You know what I mean? So I get it downstairs, I haul it on the dolly, pick it up off there and toss it in the trailer and then get back to work. So, when I'm having upstairs units, I don't look at an upstairs unit now like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a long day. I look at an upstairs unit like, man, I'm getting paid to work out right now. So let's get it.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah.
Complete different mindset going into work now to where I don't feel exhausted at the end of the day. I don't feel like I'm gassing midday. I don't feel like I need to chug 3-4 energy drinks and get after it. I've made that shift to where just that confidence is there. It's like, man, like I can go. It's like, all right, you guys want to add another one today? You know what I mean? Like it's like, for me, I have another. Is more what it's been rather than before I was like done, like looked at an upstairs unit and you know what I mean? Like, or if there's a 2-story house that I had to deal with or whatever. So those ones that kind of got me.
I love it, man. And I remember having that initial conversation with you when you told me about, the home setup that you had. You're like, man, I got a gym here. I'm just not using it. And you told me everything you had. I'm like, dude, you got me pumped up because there's really no excuses. Like we have everything that we need to train and, maximize your workouts. We just need to get after it. Right. So, but yeah, the type of training, I mean, obviously it's all functional. So it's going to tie into what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So that's improved the professional side of things. How's it improved everything at home?
Like at home. So just those moments where I get home from work and whether I'm cracking a beer or not, I'm just tired. So then I'm talking to my wife and then she's kind of like, yeah, well, you look tired, you look spent. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And then our conversations go into hey, we're not really talking much. You know what I mean? Like, and then, and when I have my days off, then it's like, all right, I feel normal again. Everything's fine. You're like, have your fun, you're talking, but then my kids are asking me, hey, you want to go do this outside? And at the beginning, around that time, I think we were mid soccer season with the kids. So as we're in the beginning to middle of our soccer season and I'm getting ready to go, you know what I mean? Like after work, it's like, hey, my daughter's asking me, hey, can you do some drills with me? And I'm like, yeah. So I kind of, instead of getting out there on the grass with her, I would sit in a chair and not do much. Now I'm with my daughter in the garage and we're either throwing in something that's going to help her, or now like we're out here kicking the ball around, or even just trying to show her how to do a jump rope, you know what I mean? Those kind of things. Rather than before where it was like, well, I'll just watch you do it and I'll just tell you how to do it. And it's like, that only goes so far, especially with younger ones. So I would say even being more active with my kids, being more active as far as like having the energy, hey, let's go do something, getting home from work and then being like, hey, do you guys want to go to the lake? Let's go throw the rods out. Let's go hike up and down. You know what I mean? Let's go do something else rather than house. So
maximizing those moments of opportunity, with our kids. It's easy. I know it's easy to do that when you're tired, when you're just beat down and you put in a long day of work and it's just like, I'll do it tomorrow. But if that's becoming like a routine, like you don't want your kids to remember, oh, dad, he worked hard for us, but he was never really present outside of that,
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the dad that's hey, I'm here and I'm bringing home a paycheck and I'm taking care of my family. But at the same time, what more am I offering to my family besides a paycheck?
Yeah.
I want to be more than that. I want my kids like, hey, you know what? Like, he was dog ass tired, but he still got out there and he played with us. So he did and everything after work. Like it's I want to be a huge part of my kid's life. You know what I mean? I want my wife to know that I'm here. So part of that is just having the energy to do it. And you know what I mean? Sitting on your ass, you're not gonna do it.
Yep. So really tapping into that right there. I mean, that's a big purpose for why pretty much all the men in Forge Father, that's why we do what we do. We do these crazy ass workouts here and there. We dial in on our nutrition. We do these things that we don't want to do in the moment because we know what type of impact it's going to have as a result of that. Right. So it's awesome stuff, man. But outside of that, I'm just curious for you, like having gone through this process and now you're to the point where I loved how you put it. You're like, I'm ready to, open my wings and, fly. And that's really where we're trying to get everybody. It's like, give you the tools, change the mindset, get the initial results, create that momentum. Now it's, you just got to keep going. You got to, it's not like, oh, we did it for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And then the process stops. It's like, you got to keep going. And that's really where the lifestyle side of things comes into play. So I'm just curious to know for you, like, what was the biggest aha that you kind of took away from this whole journey up to this point?
Okay, so when you and me first started together, and I got my first set of programs and everything, I was like hardcore, like I got to hit this every day. I got to do this all the time. I got to make this change. So I was like there hardcore. And then I had a couple days where I wasn't able to get everything in on my workouts because I remember hitting you up being, man, I was at work. I just walked 25,000 steps and my legs are feeling spent and I'm cramping up every time I try to hit deep into a squat. Like, and every time I'm going into my squat, I'm trying to teabag Satan. You know what I mean? So I'm like, down in this, let's stand back up, let's go. And then I remember just cramping up so bad. And I was like, well, what's you're like, okay, we want to be perfect. Yes, but we want to shoot for consistency even more. And you're getting in the workout and you're putting the work in. Now, this is where you need to decide to yourself, like, are you gonna, like, how'd you put it? You put it as, like, if you're really feeling tired and you're really done, then obviously you want to go in there. If you feel like you're a zombie when you go in and you're just punching up, then you don't want to be in there because you're not really getting much out of it anyway. The intensity there, you're not there. But if you go in there and you start your workout and you start going with it, then you were just trying to be lazy for a moment. And I'm like, so that's where, you know what I mean? Things started to kick. The biggest change was when I ended up taking that couple of 2x4s and that drywall to the dome and hurt my neck. I have to modify almost every workout you guys were sending my way. Every training session was pretty much going to be a modification. I'm not setting a bar on my shoulders, my neck right now. Like, it just, every time I tried to, it just was uncomfortable. It wasn't feeling good. Plus I had to take it easy for about a week before I could do anything due to concussion and everything. So they were like, all right, I'm going to back this up. Well, in those moments and in my knee getting jacked up a little bit, I started to tell you like, hey, I'm going to modify this and I'm going to do this. And you're like, right on, keep going with it. I like how you're actually engaging in it and you're actually making what you need to make. And like I said, with all the equipment I have here, I'm able to make these adjustments and not have to think too hard on it. I know what I can get in. So once I started doing that, that was like, okay, so I'm doing my own programming. I'm doing this part of it. And with the words that you were giving me before is that it's like, hey, like, if you can just get after it, and this is where you have to start deciding to yourself, like, are you being lazy or are you like, can you really get it done? And it's like, are you feeling drained or are you not really? Like, are you in it or are you? When that part happened, it was like, all right, so that's pretty big words of encouragement. Like, it's like, all right, cool. That's what I need to have my mind set on. That was in the beginning. So then as we started to come through to this point where I was like, hey, I'm hurt, I need to make adjustments. So I was making those adjustments with my workouts. I was making adjustments with my food. And you guys, it's not like you're giving me a meal plan just saying, here, take this baby bird and eat it. You're like, here, be within this range. So I'm like, I've already been doing the eating. I've already been doing that. So then, of course, I started looking up macro calculators and the maintenance calculator, and then taking my Fitness Pal and using it, then going into other series and what you guys have already taught me and ways to adjust my workouts instead of just, hey, get in here and lift some heavy shit and then you're done. And even that too, like the hookup from my aunt with the rower and the bike. And I was like, dude, I really ultimately have everything here. And I have it in front of me. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to stay on for a little while longer. And I was like, if I feel uncomfortable, then obviously I'm going to be like, hey, I need you guys' help still. But getting to the point that I'm at now, it's like, you guys gave me all the tools. Now you're like, hey, and I was like, I'm going to man my own shit. I was like, I can do this. I can get on this and I can get to myself to a point. And you know what I mean? I was also thinking, I was like, hey, if I'm hitting a plateau, it's like, that's when you guys are definitely going to be getting a call from me.
Yep.
Hey, because I like the coaching. Jeremy was amazing to me. You've been amazing to me. Frank reaching out and asking me, you know what I mean? Like if I ever need help with anything, that the support that was there was amazing. So the aha moment was you talking to me and telling me mine, even though I just talked for about 20 minutes on everything else. But was definitely you giving me those words telling me like, hey, this is where it's like I got that part into my head of like, hey, I don't have to be perfect, but I have to be consistent. I have to make sure the steps be on. And am I being lazy when I'm going into my workout? Or am I just like really just spent and I actually need to take a little more time to focus on getting some back in there? And then getting hurt, you know what I mean? And just the idea of, hey, I'm going to do my own programming for a little bit. And you were giving me. So now I was just kind of like piggybacking off of what you guys gave me. Feeling at a better point. That's what,
I love it, man. I love those takeaways. And the first thing that you talked about, kind of your big aha, I think that's really important to bring that up because a guy like you, similar to a lot of the guys in the program, I mean, you started your own business, you're a very driven individual. You don't like average, you don't like mediocrity in your life, right? And so anytime that kind of shows up in any form, and in this case, a lot of times when a guy first starts, it's like gung-ho, like all about it, I'm 100% in. You hit that first little bump, and a lot of guys, that's when they self-sabotage. They're like, fuck, I missed my streak. I guess I'll just throw in the towel now, right? And that's that perfection mindset. And a lot of people have it, man. Like go-getters, you're either all in or you're all out. And you got to learn how to manage that and understand that it's not about the perfection, but it's about the progress, the consistent progress that you mentioned, right? And so that's how we've gotten ourselves to this point, because you're a great example of what needs to be done when you do run into plateaus. So you got injured. Most guys at that point, they're like, oh, I can't put a heavy barbell on my back. I can't do the things that I want to do. So I'm not going to train at all, right? That's like the worst thing you can do. But now you're going to start backtracking.
So not lifting as heavy as I did. I did, like I'll admit, I lost a little bit of strength. I lost a little bit of endurance. I wasn't pushing near as hard in some of those moments, but I was still there though. And I feel like I didn't all of a sudden revert back to week one where I'm like, my legs are gassed, my legs are tired, I'm done. My shoulder, back, my chest, anything that I'm working out, or I can't do this workout because I'm going to go into work and I'm going to be spent. So that's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like where it went from week one to where we are now, to where I'm like, hey, this is ultimately, it definitely helped me get there to that point of like, it doesn't need to be a start over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once you get the ball rolling in the right direction, like momentum is everything. So especially when it's in the positive direction, we want to keep it going, push the needle forward every single day, versus we know how hard it is to stop negative momentum, right? Like you get yourself in a pit, guys get themselves in trouble, and it's hard to get themselves out of it. And so once you start moving in the right direction, you gotta keep it going there. But another thing that you brought up that I thought was really important is just learning how to read your body and understand the difference between legitimately being like burnt out, like you are just fatigued because you put in freaking 10-hour day lifting stuff. That's where a lot of guys start to beat themselves up again. They're like, oh, you got to go do it. Stop being a pussy, go push your body. And then you end up legitimately burning yourself out and getting injured. Right. And so there's that, but then there's also, there's the lazy tired, right? So it's like, man, I had a long day. And sometimes you just got to talk yourself out of that. So you got to learn the difference between the two. Right. And now that you've gone through that process and you've gotten to this point, the difference, the difference when to, kick yourself in the ass and say, let's do this. And then, the days where you're like, you know what, I need to sit back a little bit today and come back stronger tomorrow, versus putting in a half-ass effort just to get something done today isn't going to get you ahead. It's probably going to put you back more than anything. So,
on the good days, my head's in there and it's like, oh yeah, hey, I'm ready to do this. I can work out for days. I can get it for hours. I'm good to go. And in my head, that's what it always is. But then when it comes time to do it, there's those moments where I'm like, I don't feel like training today. I don't want to do it. But every time I go train, I'm thankful I got in there.
Oh yeah.
And that's that. Like if I wanted to work out every day that I wanted to work out, I would have never done it. You know what I mean? Like I'd have a roller coaster of days that, all right, hey, I really want to do this today. But then if I really look at it, I'm like, hey, I didn't always want to do it, but I'm glad I did it once I got that session done. It was great.
Yeah, you always that, and it's even an even better feeling when you don't have that motivation, and that discipline is what helps us show up and get the work done. Like you just feel that much better afterwards. It's like that much more fulfilling because it's like, man, I didn't want to do that. I could have chose comfort easily, but instead you went with your cause and you did the work anyways. And that's what, is a big victory all the time, man. So I love it, bro. But Mo, this has been a great journey, man. I couldn't ask more of you. We expect a lot out of our guys that come into the program for good reason. I mean, why else would you come in if you're just going to half-ass it, right? So I just want to let you know, man, I admire your hard work, your dedication, and just your relentless approach to push through, man. So I'm excited to see where you're going to be at in 60 days and 90 days at this time next year. You're just going to continue to change, man. So
we'll still be in touch. I'll definitely
absolutely. Yep.
And
And
send it out to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. But outside of that, you got anything else that you want to add in?
No, I'm just good luck to all the guys out there. Get after it. You know what I mean? Just like we were talking about here, know your body. But trust the process. That's the biggest thing, man. Just trust the process. You guys never let me go hungry, that's for sure. Never went hungry and never had a bunk training session. So in that, you know what I mean? I appreciate you guys so much. Jeremy, I appreciate him so much for everything doing with my nutrition, and the team that we had, and Travis and Frank. You guys are awesome and amazing, man. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everything you guys did for me, and even seeing the motivation coming from the guys that were posting their success and what's going on with them.
Heck yeah, dude. Appreciate it, brother. Keep it going. No stopping. The uncommon man lifestyle.
Exactly. That's where we keep going.
Awesome, brother.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bro.
Take care.